Welcome and thank you for standing by. For today's webinar, all attendees will be in a listen-only mode for the duration of the webinar. This session is being recorded and will be posted publicly. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. Now, I'd like to turn the session over to Linda Lee. Linda, you may begin.
Thank you, Greg. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Linda Lee, and I would like to welcome everyone to the Exploring Census Data webinar series. Today, we will be taking a dive into census programs about services in the U.S., where we will be looking at business and demographic programs with data related to this sector of the economy. So let's go ahead and jump right into the presentation. A brief background about the Exploring Census Data webinar series. It is a series of monthly webinars presented by topics with real-life use cases. The webinars are presented by subject matter experts, and you'll have the opportunity to connect with our presenters using the Q&A feature throughout the presentation and during the Q&A segment at the end of the presentation as well. Now, the series has been around for many years, and we have recordings of past webinars on census.gov found under the Census Academy. The first link will lead you directly to our archive recordings, and today's recordings, slides, and transcript will be available here within a few weeks. And if you'd like to learn more about our trainings, please use a second link to the Census Academy's main page. Please note that we are utilizing technology off-site, and we aim to provide you with the best experience possible. Should we experience any technical delays during our session, please utilize the chat feature to let us know of issues, and we will mitigate them as soon as possible. On today's agenda, I will touch briefly on about the Census Bureau. Then I'll turn the presentation over to my colleagues to go into today's topics to present materials from the Economic Census, the Service Annual Survey, the Annual Integrated Economic Survey, and the American Community Survey. Today, we have several speakers with extensive knowledge representing these programs. From the business data side of the house, we have Byron Rainey, Maria Villarreal, Jordan Lloyd, and Rini Wagner that are survey statistician presenting economic data related to the services industries. Representing the demographic program is Vicki Mack. Vicki is a survey statistician with the American Community Survey. Vicki will be representing demographic characteristics and the importance of the data. Vicki will also be doing a demonstration on how to get the data. And finally, we will close out with a Q&A. Now, although we do have a section at the end dedicated for Q&A, please feel free to send in your questions during the presentation, and we will respond when possible. So the Census Bureau is the federal government's largest of the 13 statistical agencies, where we conduct over 130 surveys each year, with our well-known ones listed here on this slide. First on the list, many people recognize the decennial census that is conducted every 10 years, counting the population and housing. Next is the American Community Survey, also commonly referred to as the ACS. This is the yearly survey on the nation's population. And in a moment, we will hear details about the ACS from Vicki. Now, from the business data side of the house, we have the economic census that measures American businesses. The economic census has a public sector's counterpart called the Census of Governments. This is the official 5-year measure of the nation's state and local government sector. And now I would like to turn the presentation over to my colleague, Byron. All yours, Byron.
Thanks, Linda. Good afternoon. All the data products in the surveys that we'll go over are categorized and disseminated using the NAICS structure. The North American Industry Classification System is the standard used by federal statistical agencies in classifying business establishments for the purpose of collecting, analyzing, and publishing statistical data related to the U.S. business economy. NAICS were used for the first time in 1999 to collect data for the Service Annual Survey. It was developed to allow for a high level of comparability in business statistics among the 3 North American countries. NAICS is based on a production-oriented concept, meaning that it groups establishments into industries according to similarity in the processes used to produce goods and services. There are 20 sectors included in the NAICS. All sectors except 92 have full or partial representation in the economic census. NAICS are updated every 5 years. We plan to publish on the newest set of NAICS for the 3rd year of the annual Integrated Economic Survey. NAICS is a hierarchical structure, which is the relationship of one item to a particular category. The organization of the NAICS is as follows. If you look to the left of the pyramid, you'll see the level. The NAICS code is in the pyramid, and to the right of the pyramid is the title. There are various levels in the NAICS structure. At the top left, you see the sector, which is a two-digit level. Those titles are going to be more broad. Below the sector is at the 3-digit level is the subsector, with the title on the right side of the pyramid becoming more detailed. At the 4-digit level, we have the industry group with a more detailed title. NAICS industry is at the 5-digit level, and at the 6-digit level is the national industry. The higher the digits in the NAICS, the more detailed the title. Some economic census tables also display data at the 7 and 8-digit levels. Although these codes are NAICS-based codes, they are not included in the official classification system. 3 sectors are represented by a range of 2-digit codes. 2-digit codes, which include manufacturing, 31 through 33, retail, trade, 44 and 45, and transportation and warehousing, 48 and 49. A 0 as the 6th digit generally indicates that the NAICS industry and the national industry are the same, but this is not always the case. This is the Census Bureau website homepage for viewing available NAICS codes and their descriptions. There are 3 NAICS search bars available. These represent the 3 latest versions of the NAICS. On the left side, under the NAICS search, there is a keyword search to guide you through to the correct code. There's also a link to the homepage at the lower left side of the slide. Today, we plan on discussing 3 economic surveys that provide a thorough view of the services in the United States: the Economic Census, Service Annual Survey, and the Annual Integrated Economic Survey. This slide shows the surveys we'll be discussing in our webinar series, with a description of the timing of the surveys, the industries included, reporting level, sample size, and geographic coverage area. The economic census occurs every 5 years and has a national geographic coverage area, including island areas. The economic census requests data from approximately 4 million establishments from a universe of about 8 million employer establishments. The Service Annual Survey, which ended in 2022, was an annual survey and had a national geographic coverage area. And finally, the Annual Integrated Economic Survey, which began collecting 2023 data this year, is an annual survey with a geographic coverage area of selected states within the U.S. As an additional note, the survey year can be different than the calendar year. Now I'm going to turn it over to Maria, who will talk about the economic census.
Thank you, Byron. Today, I will be talking about the 2022 economic census. The economic census is the official 5-year measure of American businesses. It provides comprehensive statistics at the national, state, and local levels. It serves as the benchmark for current economic activity, such as the gross domestic product and producer price index. Although it is a census, most companies do not receive the economic census. Only a sample of smaller businesses are required to respond. Data collected from these individual establishments are based on physical location, type of business activity, the NAICS that Byron discussed earlier, employment, payroll, revenue by type of service and product, and changes in ownership. Trade associations, chambers of commerce, and businesses rely on this information for economic development, business decisions, and strategic planning. Some examples for uses include opening a small business, expanding or reevaluating an existing business, promoting economic development, shaping tax policy, and developing emergency responses. Here is the release schedule for the 2022 economic census. Data releases are published on a flow basis through March of 2026. In January 2024, we published our first look data. That is the national level economic estimates at the 2- and 3-digit NAICS. Our analysts are currently working on the geographic area statistics for the March 2025 release. And after that, we will have the comparative and bridge data release, as well as the establishment and firm size release in June 2025. Then the product statistics published in September 2025, miscellaneous statistics by March 2026. And in the meantime, we are publishing our island area statistics. We've published Guam, American Samoa, Northern Mariana Islands, and U.S. Virgin Islands back in June 2024 and July 2024. And we will be publishing Puerto Rico in December 2024. On this graph, we see annual revenue estimates in billions of dollars at the 2-digit NAICS based on the data from our first look release. Sectors highlighted in orange are part of the services industry, which are represented in the services annual survey that will be covered in the next section of this webinar. You may find this data, as well as prior economic census data, on our website at data.census.gov. And here's a screenshot of the 2022 first look data table. We use this data from this table for the graph that I showed you in the previous slides. And you can also see an example of some of the filters available to drill down on the data. Finally, here's an example of the different levels of data available for our next data release, the geographic area statistics. What you're seeing on your screen now is based on the 2017 economic data census data. As I mentioned earlier, the 2022 geographic area statistics is set to be released in March of next year. At the national level, we see numbers of establishments, revenue, and payroll. The national level data that you see here, for example, the $265 billion in revenue for this industry, is similar to the data that you will find in the first look release. But with the geographic area release, we're able to drill down further to the state level and local level data. In this example, we see the state of Maryland and then further into Prince George's County. Like I said, the updated 2022 geographic level numbers will be released in March 2025, so keep a lookout for that. And now I will pass the presentation over to my colleague Jordan, who will be talking about our services annual survey.
All right. Thank you, Maria. My name is Jordan, and I'll be discussing the Services Annual Survey, or the SAS as we call it for short. So what is the Services Annual Survey? So the SAS provided the only source of annual receipt estimates for services industries. SAS collected economic data from approximately 78,000 selected service businesses, and data was provided at the sector, subsector, and industry group levels for the most recent survey year and past years. SAS, however, has been transitioned out. The last year SAS collected data was for survey year 2022, and service industries, amongst others, are now being incorporated into the annual integrated economic survey, a new survey collecting 2023 data with expanded coverage that we will discuss later in the webinar. So SAS covered a broad spectrum of services industries, from personal and business services to healthcare and social welfare. But how were the service industries trending? So these trends are evident in our latest SAS data product, as you can see on the right-hand side of the slide, and all service sectors are covered in this image. So service industries increased 9.7% to $20,604.5 billion in 2022. The finance and insurance sector, Sector 52, stood out with the largest estimated revenue in 2022. And the education sector, Sector 61, though seemingly small in this survey, excluded grade schools and universities, which data can be found in other surveys. So SAS provided separate estimates for taxable firms and organizations exempt from federal income tax. However, it did not include geographic data like the economic census or have the same sector coverage. So for example, management companies and enterprises, which is Sector 55, was not covered in SAS. So what does set the Service Annual Survey apart is its ability to generate detailed revenue and expense data, and this is offering great insights for analysis. So although the SAS is sunsetted, we're transitioning to the new Annual Integrated Economic Survey. SAS is 100% still being used as a resource, and historic SAS tables are still available for use. The image displayed here is a snapshot from one of our SAS tables, Table 4, and it specifically details revenue from the arts, entertainment, and recreation sector. And this includes data on admissions, contributions, gifts, and grants. And our SAS data is also presented in downloadable formats such as Excel tables. In addition to revenue and expense data, SAS also collected sales tax, typically every 5 years during the economic census years. And SAS is utilized by a diverse range of data users, including the Bureau of Economic Analysis, Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, media outlets, private businesses, trade organizations, and researchers. And speaking of research, the COVID pandemic highlighted the critical importance of capturing data, and specifically during times of crisis. The Services Annual Survey was instrumental in documenting the various industries' trends during the COVID pandemic time period. And the annual data captured by the SAS gave us a closer look at the various trends of these different industries during the pandemic. And we can use Sector 71 as an example of this. So this slide shows Sector 71's revenue decreased an estimated 29.3% from 2019 to 2020. And we saw recovery in 2021, where revenue increased an estimated 34%, and then increased another estimated 24.2% in 2022. And throughout the years, we have used SAS to show how our numbers are reflected in the real world. The Census Bureau publishes America Counts stories to showcase this reflection. And the story showcased on this slide discussed how during the pandemic, outdoor activities surged, but select outdoor sectors saw revenue declines. Many indoor-centric industries also faced significant drops. Certain outdoor industries surpassed 2019 levels, such as mobile food services and golf courses. So it was amazing to see the data capturing the resilience of the different industries after the pandemic. And this concludes the presentation on the Services Annual Survey. I'll now pass this to our next presenter, Rainey, to discuss the Annual Integrated Economic Survey.
Thank you, Jordan. Good afternoon. I'm Renee Wagner, here to discuss the Annual Integrated Economic Survey. You may be wondering, what is the Annual Integrated Economic Survey? It's a new survey that's been designed to integrate and replace 7 existing annual business surveys into one survey. It will provide the only comprehensive national and subnational data on business revenues, expenses, and assets on an annual basis. Years ago, the Census Bureau requested a study by a panel of the National Academy of Sciences, NAS, to review the Census Bureau's portfolio of annual economic surveys. This panel examined the design, operations, and products of economic programs that had developed sector by sector over many years. The panel on re-engineering the Census Bureau's annual economic surveys provided recommendations in 2018. We requested the NAS panel review because our surveys have been suffering declining response rates and budget pressures to reduce costs. We need to improve our efficiency and consistency across programs. Most importantly, we need to meet the needs of data users for more timely, granular, and standardized data. This graphic illustrates the components of AIES, transitioning from separate annual business surveys to one integrated survey that's assembled like pieces of a puzzle. The AIES consolidates data collected from the 7 annual surveys shown, including the Service Annual Survey described by Jordan earlier, as well as the Report of Organization, 2 manufacturer surveys, and the annual Wholesale, Retail, and Capital Expenditure surveys. To prepare for the full launch of the AIES, a 3-phase pilot program tested many changes in advance. New methods aim to ultimately lead to eased respondent burden, improvements in the frame, and provision of more relevant and timely economy-wide data. Also, for product releases, we will integrate the time series from the various programs under one consistent methodology. The Annual Integrated Economic Survey seeks to harmonize content across the 7 selected annual surveys. Selected companies receive one combined survey that asks questions about all operations or activities within a company at the overall company level, the industry or kind of activity, KAU level, and the establishment level. For small companies, these data at each level may be the same. However, they often differ for larger organizations. I'd also like to clarify that we're referring to the reporting organizations as companies. However, nonprofit organizations are included as well. The AIES expands coverage of some industries, including educational and religious organizations, for example. Annual revenue and payroll are collected at an establishment level instead of an industry level, which was done for SAS. The AIES collects first quarter payroll and employment at the establishment level too. Previously, you could get this level of detail from the economic census only once every 5 years. So the AIES brings together important parts of both the economic census and SAS. This table summarizes the content for each trade area, listing the data items collected at the 3 levels: the company, industry, and establishment levels. The cells marked in orange include the services sector. Notice that the only row in orange for all 3 levels and all trades is the one that includes revenue. The trades with their abbreviations are shown under the table. Next, I'll discuss AIS data products and dissemination, including how we will be publishing the AIS results. Currently, our annual surveys publish Excel tables posted on each survey's website. These Excel tables are not standardized, and they have different formats, layouts, and designs. AIES will standardize the way we disseminate the data. In addition, we have standardized our business rules around dissemination. In the past, many of the surveys suppressed data that did not meet certain statistical standards. This will change in the AIES. Instead of suppressing data, We'll make more data available and add flags or ranges to alert data users to high imputation levels. The data users will be able to evaluate the range or flag for themselves to determine if they would like to use the data. Data for AIES will be disseminated by using 5 different publication vehicles to serve data users. First, data for the 2023 survey year will be available via website tables. The tables will include core multi-sector tables and trade-specific tables, as we've provided for several years. The website, data.census.gov, will provide core multi-sector tables for the first year, 2023. These will show the results of current data collection. In the future, selected NAPS tables, that's the North American Product Classification System, will be added. However, for the first year of AIES, no NAPS will be released for the service industries. Data for the 2023 survey year and prior year data linked from the 7 annual programs that have been replaced will also be available via the API, Application Programming Interface files. They will include all AIES data products. The files are designed for power users to pull all of the AIES data or select subsets of it. FRED is an acronym for the Federal Reserve Economic Data. FRED is a widely used online database maintained by the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis. Finally, AIES data will be published throughout the year in various data visualizations. These data visualizations will sometimes include links with other Census Bureau data products. So we hope that you're looking forward to seeing the data. Data releases will begin in the summer of 2025. Resources shown are the main websites for each of the 3 economic surveys discussed, where you can find more information about each, including links to the data and technical documentation. The bottom link takes you to a preview of the AIES questions. Thank you for your time. Our next speaker will be Vicki Mack from the American Community Survey Office. Excuse me. Take it away, Vicki.
Thank you, Rainey. Today, I'll provide a brief overview of the American Community Survey, or ACS. However, if you are new to the ACS or want more in-depth information on ACS, we have an introductory webinar on the ACS with slides and a recording available. We also have 4 modules posted in a recently launched course titled Discovering the American Community Survey. The comprehensive course is designed for all kinds of data users and those who need to understand the fundamentals of the ACS and access the data. The American Community Survey, or ACS, is the premier source of detailed information about the nation's people and housing. The survey samples about 3.5 million addresses each year. These data are collected continuously throughout the year to produce annual social, economic, housing, and demographic estimates for communities throughout the United States and Puerto Rico. The estimates cover more than 40 topics. The ACS collects this detailed information each year that was once previously collected by the decennial census each decade. Information from the ACS generates data that help inform how trillions of dollars in federal funds are distributed each year, supporting more than 300 known federal uses and countless non-federal uses. ACS data are timely because they are released the following year in which they are collected. The ACS creates period estimates, which means they represent characteristics of the population and housing over a period or data collection period. The ACS releases 1-year estimates and 5-year period estimates, or 1 year and 5 year. ACS estimates releases 1 year and 5 year periods. After years of I hear someone's microphone, so I don't know, it's kind of distracting. So could you please mute your microphone? After years of extensive testing, the ACS was fully implemented in 2005. The first 1-year estimates were collected in 2005 and released in 2006. The first 5-year ACS estimates were released between 2005 and 2009 and released in 2010. The content collected by ACS can be grouped into 4 main types of characteristics: social, demographic, economic, and housing. Social characteristics include topics such as disability status, education, and language spoken at home. The American Community Survey also collects basic demographic characteristics such as age, sex, race, and Hispanic origin. Demographic characteristics are cross-tabulated with many of the other topics, creating rich context about the population. Economic characteristics include topics such as industry and occupation, community work, employment status, and income. Housing characteristics include topics such as computer and internet use, housing costs, and vehicles available. These topics are used to produce more than 1,000 tables for local communities each year. Along with the numerous topics covered, the ACS provides data for more geographies on an annual basis than any other household survey. The image on the slide shows some of the geographies for which ACS data produce and the relationship between them. Lower geographic areas fit neatly within the larger areas directly connected with lines. For example, school, congressional, and state legislative districts fit neatly within states and do not cross state boundaries. However, they may cross boundaries of counties or metropolitan areas. In this visualization, you can also see the smallest geographic building block is the block group that include between 600 and 3,000 people each. The ACS's unique ability to report on a wide range of geographies is what gives it such a broad appeal. Earlier, I mentioned the different products the ACS provides. These products are released about 1 year after the data are collected. ACS data are generally released in September, the calendar year after collection, as 1-year estimates. In October, the calendar year after collection, as 1-year supplemental estimates, and 5-year estimates are generally released in December, the calendar year after collection. For example, the 1-year ACS data collected from January 1st through December 31st of 2022 were released in September of 2023. ACS estimates, which combine data collected over 12 months, are available for geographic areas with populations of 65,000 or more. ACS 1-year supplemental estimates are a subset of detailed tables that are available for geographic areas with populations of 20,000 or more. 1-year supplemental estimates are simplified versions of popular ACS tables and provide the most current data to almost twice as many geographies compared to the standard 1-year release. ACS 5-year estimates combine data collected over 60 months are available for geographies of all sizes down to those granular census tracts and block group levels. The full detailed release schedule for each year is available on the link you see on the slide, which you can also navigate to by visiting census.gov/ACS. Now, catering to a variety of data users with unique needs, we have a variety of data access tools. This is just a few of those tools. Data.census.gov is the Census Bureau's main data dissemination platform to access Census Bureau statistics. Quick Facts provides selected statistics for all states and counties and for cities and towns with a population of 5,000 or more using the ACS as well as other Census Bureau datasets. Census Business Builder provides selected demographic data from the ACS and economic data from the Census Bureau to help users start or grow a business or understand the business landscape for a region. You can go to the link on the screen to learn more about these data tools and others. For today's demo scenario, you hypothetically want to open a new restaurant in the state of North Carolina. You're thinking of Northeast North Carolina, so you first want to look at the median earnings of food service workers by county in the state. You first want to make sure you can hire and keep staff, so you plan to pay above median income or higher than the pay in the surrounding areas. You can use data.census.gov to examine the median earnings data. So I'm going to go to the tool and show you how to do that. So here's this main screen, data.census.gov. First thing you can do is go to advanced search. It says advanced search, but it's not that complicated. This just takes you to a list of filters. And I want to search by county. So under the geographies filter, I'm going to select county. And I'm going to select my state, which is North Carolina. And I want to select all counties in North Carolina. And then I'm going to go back to the filters again, and my topic is occupation. And occupation falls under the topic of employment. I'm going to select employment and then select occupation. And then I'm interested in earnings. And I know median earnings falls under the topic of income and poverty, but it's also under income and earnings. And I will select income and earnings again. And I can either select tables here or click on the search button in the far bottom right corner. And I already know the simplest table to find the data I'm looking for is table S2411. And to better see the table, I'm going to collapse the table by clicking on these arrows here at the top of the screen. And I'm interested in the food service occupation. And I can scroll down. And here's food preparation and serving occupations. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. Food service occupation. And I see that for Alamance County, for the latest, and oh, I forgot to mention, remember to see the data for all counties. I need to make sure I have 5-year data because some counties have smaller populations. So I need 5-year data to make sure I have all those smaller counties. So I'm going to scroll down and select food service population, food service and service related occupations. And the latest data, latest 5-year data shows that for Alamance County, the median earnings for food service workers is about $14,603. If I want a visual display of this data, I can map the data in data.census.gov by clicking on more tools or maps here. I can click on maps. I'm going to select the topic and make sure the default is the first data topic in that table. I'm going to make sure I scroll down to food service and serving related occupation. I'm going to make sure that the correct data point is being displayed or dimension. And right now it's women's, I'm going women's earnings. I want to select the units, its number, and median earnings. And now I have the correct data displayed. And now I can zoom in a little or zoom in or out. You get a better visual of the data. As the map shows, the darker the area, the higher the median income or the median earnings by county. And this table or the map can be printed. You go back to the table, you just click on tables, and you can download this table in Excel by CSV or zip in a zip file. Now, I need to mention that just because the estimates are different does not mean they are statistically different. The ACS collects data from a sample of the population in the United States and Puerto Rico rather than from the whole population. So all ACS data are estimates. To help you interpret the reliability of ACS estimates, the Census Bureau publishes the margins of error for every single estimate. Unless you take into the account of the margins of error, you cannot conclude that the estimates are statistically different from one another. Instead, you must conduct statistical testing when making comparisons between estimates to check for any differences. Looking at estimates alone to decide if they are higher or lower is not enough or is not sufficient. The Census Bureau provides this handy statistical testing tool for public use. This tool allows you to input estimates you'd like to test and receive a visual notification of whether the estimates are statistically different or not. Using the tool, you can compare pairs of estimates and groups of estimates against one another. The tool is available for download as an Excel spreadsheet via the link at the bottom of the screen. The ACS provides businesses with a wealth of free information. You can use ACS data to help select a new location, target the market, or study workforce characteristics. The ACS provides detailed information about the population and workforce in local communities. Businesses may also need to know or need workers with specific degrees. They may need to know where these workers live, how long it takes them to get to work, if they drive or if they take public transportation. For more guidance, you can go to our ACS Information for Businesses page, which provides information about the ACS subjects that businesses can use to make important decisions, as well as helpful resources such as handbooks, previously recorded webinars, stories of how businesses use ACS data, and links to data tools. See the link on the slide to access the page. You can visit, well, in closing, I want to share information on how you can find answers and get ACS support for this webinar. You can visit our website, which contains information about the survey, data products, tools for data users, and other helpful information. If you still have data user questions, you can reach us by phone or email at the phone number and email address on the slide or on the screen. Our Census Academy site is our learning hub for data users or for data skills. You can learn how to access and use Census Bureau data your way. You can learn how to use data through our Data Gem videos and in-depth courses, webinars, and tutorials. This page also has a link where you can request a training at no cost from our Data Dissemination Specialists or DDSs. DDSs are located within your region. They can provide you with assistance about Census Bureau data, such as how to obtain or understand ACS data. Whether conducting one-on-one webinars with business startups or conducting large-scale presentations at universities, these specialists strive to put the public in touch with the data they need. If you're on social media, connect with us at U.S. Census Bureau using the hashtag ACS Data. And one last thing, if you're using ACS estimates, make sure to source the U.S. Census Bureau American Community Survey as to where you receive the data. It helps people know that the information they're using is powered by the ACS. Thank you for your attention, and here is Linda.
Thank you, Vicki, and thank you everyone for your interest and time in attending today's webinar. Thank you to all of our speakers today for presenting our audience with an interesting presentation on statistics that are available about the services sector. Today, we featured several programs that can be helpful when looking for information to help in the decision-making process. Please come join us again next month on August 22nd at 2 p.m. for a presentation on the gems of census data. This is where our experts will be highlighting key programs and data that can be crucial to your research. Now, before we begin the Q&A portion of this webinar, please take note of the contact information on this slide. And as Vicki has mentioned, for anyone that may be interested in a hands-on, in-person training, we have data dissemination specialists that are available to provide this service. If you have questions or need more information after the webinar, please feel free to email us at census.askdata@census.gov. Now, at this moment, to ask a question, please submit your questions using the Q&A feature, and I will read the questions aloud to our presenters to respond verbally. Please also note that if we are unable to address your questions in this session, feel free to use the contact information on this slide to contact us. All right, let's check out the Q&A panel and see if we have questions. All right, so it looks like we do not have questions coming in. And at this time, I would like to again express our thanks to everyone again for attending today's webinar. This concludes today's presentation. Have a great day, everyone.
This concludes today's webinar. Thank you for your participation. You may disconnect at this time.